Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Verbal Teacup. And today we are trying to do a recording of a philosophy article. Now, all of you were telling me that reading philosophy becomes very, very difficult for you. So let's try to understand this and see how it can be made easy. So this is a essay from Eon, and this is about psyche and philosophy together. So here, many spiritual leaders have emphasized means put stress on the notion of, let me take the annotation here. So the notion of here we are talking about the here and now. All right. So we are talking about here and now and the present in the now, right? So proponents of meditative practices. So here they have said that now is the most important, है ना? And you have to be fully present. Many spiritual teachers, obviously, which talk about mindfulness and things like that. Proponents means those who support. So supporters of meditative practices. Ab dekho, it's important that you just start, here you start your marking your easy ones with the difficult, है ना? The difficult words start doing the easy words instead of the difficult one. Okay. So present proponents mean supporters of meditative practices of various sorts. Tout means they talk about meditation very strongly. Tout means usko बढ़ावा देना and supporting it again as a way of immersing oneself fully. So what is meditation? Immersing yourself fully in the present moment and not attending to the past or future. So you just let go of the past or the future. You are just in here and now. So like when you're reading, I want you to be here and now. All right. And then the spiritual leaders, which include the authors and proponents of meditation, point out many benefits of being fully present in the now. As the influential contemporary author Eckhart Tolle. Now, Eckhart Tolle is a very famous author in the book that he published in 1997, The Power of Now. And he says, since ancient times, spiritual masters of all traditions have pointed to the now as the key of the to the spiritual dimension. So that's what he talks about. All right, now let's keep moving here. And then some, however, don't leave at that. So we just don't say that be present, there's something more to it. This don't simply argue for the advantages of presence in the current moment on the basis of psychological or other practical benefits. So they are saying ki ye present moment, why is it important? It's not important just for the basis of psychological benefit. It is also something more. What is more? Rather, they point to the singularity of the present moment, that this is the single moment, this is what we are, nothing else. So this only thing, singularity of the present moment, the idea that the now is all we have. So now temporarily means the time. So now is the time to act. So temporarily means related to time. So now the action time is now only. You can't act in future, you cannot act in past, you can only act in present. And I will use singular in the claim the present moment is singular to refer to this idea of being one and only. So one and only, the now is the singular moment that we have. And this is the singular thesis. है ना? The singularity thesis, that only one thing is important, the now is important, is the idea that the present moment is all we have, the one and only time. And Flaming Lips. Now, Flaming Lips was a very famous band who wrote beautiful and sang beautiful songs. So they talked about the one and only time, the time is now, and remind us that all we have is now. So that is a very famous song of 2002. So you can even listen to it if you want. And what is the author trying to do? He's trying to present an argument. His style of writing is argumentative, and he's giving us the power of now. And all we have is now. What I dub the connection thesis. So Now what he's saying that I will add this connection thesis is a central claim of various spiritual practitioner. So he's saying that I am connecting this now to the present, to the singularity. And you can see that all spiritual leaders, most of the famous people, have talked about it. So there's a connection between all of them, and authors, lecturers, and workshop leaders. It's the contention meaning the argument that we should focus our full attention on the present moment precisely because of its singularity. So, why should we focus your attention? Why should you focus your attention, or I should, in the present moment, in the now moment? Because that is all we have. That is the one and only. So, the single thing, the singularity. The view being considered is that although it might seem to us that other times, past and future, are appropriate targets of attention. So now we are saying that past and future are also targets of attention. We can come to understand intellectually and effectively that in the fundamental sense, there is only now. And thus our attention should be focused on it. But abhi, see, present and past are okay, but what you have now is now only, so that should be your target of attention. So you see, the author is using a lot of rhetoric is again an argumentation technique in which you keep repeating your argument in different ways and means to try to prove it right. And on the verbal teacup, I have explained rhetoric as a concept. Just watch that video also, one of the first videos. Okay, so our appropriate target full of attention then depends on and arises from singularity. So the target is now, and you are full of attention, and you talk about the singularity of now. The importance of now is arguably a key idea in various religious and mystical traditions. Religious traditions, you understand, mystic is related to magic, and the kind of white magic and black magic. Uske liye bhi now was something very important in all of those traditions. So spiritual leaders like Ramdas, Jiddu Krishna, J. Krishnamurti, again very famous spiritualist and a philosopher, John Kabat-Zinn, and Alan Watts have emphasized it. So all, even spiritually, even religiously and philosophically, this power of now has been talked about by everybody. Some have even articulated means they have tried to give emphasis. Articulate something is to create the thesis of singularity. And perhaps the most salient means the most important contemporary spiritual leader who emphasized ontological uniqueness of the present and the connection thesis is Toll. So ontological means man-made. So the most important contemporary means the modern spiritual leader who has emphasized the man-made uniqueness, because it is in your control, it is man. So now is what you have, and that is what is created by man. The time is yours, and that connection thesis and the importance, the most important contributor is Eckhart Tolle, and the power of now, which the book that we talked about, who collates means captures and collects and reworks many of the insights of a variety of thinkers. तो वो क्या करते हैं? Toll just collects सब thinkers का ideas and he puts them. So he not only highlights what he takes to be the fact that the present is one and only moment, he also he also argues explicitly and means plainly. He clearly argues that we ought to give, means we should give our full attention precisely to the present, precisely because of this singularity. This moment is now, it is one only moment. So therefore you should give your attention, not just think of its importance, but give your full attention to it. And though through various media, including many widely read books, Toll has brought out spirituality, mindfulness again, staying in the present, and meditation to many millions of people. At the very center of his advocacy of the connection thesis, for example, the power of now. Now, what does he write in this? Realize deeply. So this is a few lines from his book, The Power of Now, from Eckhart Tolle, and he writes, realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. Abhi ke moment mein, what are you doing? And that is what is important. Always say yes to the present moment. So what is in store for you? Say yes to it, rise to the occasion, do something about it. What could be more futile, futile meaning useless, more insane than to create inner resistance to something that is already is? Now he says it is so stupid, or it is so insane, it is so crazy to give an resistance that no, abhi nahi karenge, now I will not do it, I'll do it later, why not now? Because now is all you have. And always now, surrender to what is, say yes to life, and see how suddenly life starts working for you rather than against you. So it is very motivating also, if you realize the power of now. If you start saying yes, I will do it now, instead of saying yes, I will do it sometime, that sometime will never come. Okay, and now is the most precious thing there is. So why is it the most precious thing? Firstly, because it is the only thing, and life is now. There was never a time when your life was not now, nor will there ever be. So this now ka moment is what we have, and what it is now will never be again, because then it will become the past. I'm interested in the ideas that clearly suggest Toll's remarks as quoted above, but not in an engaging, in an exegetical exercise. So he is saying that I am interested in this idea of now very much, and just now, not as an engaging exercise, something more than that. So what is something more than that, right? And so now, as you see here, so this word basically, exegetic is talking about the interpretation or explaining of something religious, something important. So he's talking about, let us see why it is important. All right. So let's begin by considering the claim that the present moment is unique, unique to man, ontologically unique, the one and only time, and thus all we have. So let us try to consider it like that. This claim of the singularity of the present can be put in various ways. तो अलग अलग ढंग से इसको explain किया जा सकता है, that it is always now, because आपके कंट्रोल में क्या टाइम है? now 5 मिनट बाद that again that now will be now. So what is happening just now will be the past, and after 5 minutes the future will be the now. So what you have, it is always now for you. The idea is that it is always the same time. That is, now is just one time, and that is the now which we have to define. It was the same time yesterday, it is the same time that is there in the current moment, and it will be the same time tomorrow. We never have had or never will have any other time than now. You can't work in the past, you can't work in the present, you cannot act in past or present. You can only act now, the moment that is going on right now. The singularity of the now might appear to be a deep and profound insight. Now, deep and profound means very in depth, inside means kind of a knowledge. So, very deep knowledge is the singularity of why now is important. It is the springboard, means it's the jumping station for various practical strategies for achieving enlightenment and self-enhancement. So, apne ko self-enhancement means self-improvement. Enlightenment, as you know, Buddha reached enlightenment. So, the actual gyan or knowledge, that is again the understanding of now. But the claim that there is always now is so trivial that it can't support any interesting inference. So but if you say ki now to will always be, so it's very trivial, it becomes very unimportant, and therefore it can't have any interesting inferences, meaning any conclusions, any decisions. And there are other ways of justifying these strategies and practices. So now let us see other ways of justifying why now is important. What exactly does it mean that it is always now? And then he goes on to explain. I think that the best way to interpret the claim is to first note that the term now is an indexical term. Indexical means which can be indexed, which can be written down, which can be understood. So how? It's employed flexibility to the point that the particular time when it's used, not the same time every time it's used. So आप उसको index कर रहे हैं, you're creating a marker for now, and this now is a word which is used flexibly. Flexibly means interchangeably for the time when it's used. And it's not that now kal ka now or aaj ka now can't be the same. So it's not the same every time, it's just the same time that you get to use is the now. and that comes every moment, but are you using it? Similarly, the term here is also an indexical term. You can, here is this place, employed flexibly refer to the place where it is uttered, not the same place wherever it is uttered. So now cannot be the same place where I was yesterday, and now for today might be a different place where I'm sitting. Now is a temporal indexical. Temporal means time, and here is a spatial indexical, means space. So at this time and at this place, what you have is now. Therefore, now can be indexed through time and through place. है ना? So temporal index and spatial index through space, through place. What is thus indisputably true is that if anyone were to think or utter, so now here understand what is thus indisputably. Indisputable means कोई उसको argue नहीं करेगा, कोई इसके against नहीं बोल सकता. That if anyone were to think or utter, it is now, the proposition expressed would be true. So now nobody will go against that. If you say it is now, जो proposition, जो idea उसके बारे में, that is what is considered to be true. Seeing that now is a temporal indexical explains why it is now is always true. So since now can be defined in the terms of the time now, it is, therefore it is always true that it is always now, and in this sense it is always now. If I were to say or think it's now Monday, or Monday now, would refer to a time on Monday. If I were to say or think it is now Tuesday, or Tuesday now, means it is referring to a time on Tuesday, and so forth. And so it goes on and on for every statement or the thought to be the effect. It is now on subsequent, on later days also, the now will be that day, that time, and that place. Okay. So now there comes a question: is the claim of the singularity of the present a truth, acceptable, accessible? Accessible means reachable. So singularity of the present, can you reach it via mystical, means a magical experience, or through meditation? So now let's see. By linguistic rules of usage, linguistic means the language rules of the usage, now helps to specify a proposition, means an idea expressed by the statement in which it occurs. तो जिस स्टेटमेंट में आप जब नाउ बोल रहे हो, उसी टाइम एंड प्लेस को नाउ कंट्रीब्यूट करता है, कंट्रीब्यूटिंग एट डिफरेंट टाइम ऑन डिफरेंट ओकेजन्स ऑफ यूजेज. जब भी आपने नाउ बोला, whenever you have said now, it means to that particular time and place where you were at that particular time and place. So whereas it is now is always true, it does not follow, and it is not true that the location always expresses the same idea. The location might be different for the now, and so it is not true that it is always now, in the sense that it's always the same time. Now is not the same time. Now is the only time we have, because the now keeps changing. Right? So it is not the same every time. It is the only time. So there's difference, that everything is same rather than it is the only thing that you have. So the initial insight means the initial idea rendered true by semantic rules of language pertaining to the temporal existence. Temporal means the time of now is too trivial, too very small to imply. To imply means to conclude that substantive and important claim, the connection thesis. So the connection thesis then from the temporal indexing of now is not possible, interpreted so that it's correct, the intuitive idea that it's always now. So now when we interpret the intuitive idea, the idea of the mind that it is always now, does not support the crucial inference, the important inference, that we should always focus on the present because it's all we have. So is the claim of singularity of the present a truth, or can it be accessible through mystical or through meditation? Since meditation, up now the answer comes, typically involves full immersion, means you're totally into the here and now. This proposed interpretation would begin with full attention to the now, and this would lead to the singularity insight, that now is important, just focus on the now. This, however, gets the logic of the view backward, since the main idea is that we start with the singularity point and then infer the appropriateness of full immersion. So what you do, you talk about now and then you interpret it about it when it's past, because you would say that that time I was fully immersed. है ना? So you understand it, the interpretation, you understand it later on. We noted over here is a spatial indexical. Now here and now, here is the space that you are in, the place that you are in, and now is a temporal indexical. So whenever one asserts I'm here now, it is true. So I'm here now is a truthful statement. Similarly, I am here also means the same thing. It doesn't, however, follow that there is only one place and that is the only place we have. No, that's not true, right? So this would be a spurious transition. So place can change, but now the moment, the time, that remains only at that point when you are living it, right? The space might be changing. The now for you might be sometimes in the Himalayas, might be sometimes in Delhi, might be in Mumbai, might be in Chennai. You keep moving, but the now time is always the same. The space here keeps changing. So if you say that the here is always the same, that's not true. It's a spurious. Spurious means a false transition. A fallacious inference. Fallacy means a incorrect inference of the sort we identified with respect to now. In philosophy of time, there are two main views, presentism and eternalism. Presentism is what is happening now, and eternalism is forever. Right. So the presentists hold that present moment is the real moment or it exists, whereas the eternalists hold that every moment is equal, real, or extant. So it is, so presentist says that what is real is now, and this is what is exist. Eternalists say that every moment that exists is forever, so it's eternal. It's clear that one cannot propound the singularity thesis on the assumption of eternalism. Forever to nahi ho sakta. So, after all, eternalism holds that all times are equally real. So that can't. And here we are talking about the now point. So the now is not always equally real because it keeps changing. Perhaps the proponent means the supporter of the connection thesis, embraces the doctrine of presentism. So the connection thesis takes up the doctrine meaning the principle of presentism, on the basis of which he goes to argue that our full attention should be focused on this time, the extant time is the time that is there, the now. Note, however, that presentism doesn't entail that we should focus only on the present moment. It's possible to attend to non existent entities such as fictional characters. So it's saying that the now, the presentism does not say that you just talk about what is happening right now. Now you can focus on other things which have happened earlier also. So now I am thinking about my childhood. Now I am thinking about a play Macbeth of Shakespeare, right? But what is happening is that I'm giving it attention now. So the now, the time is fixed, but my thought can be about anything now. Okay. So it is possible to attend to non-existent entities such as fictional characters out of books. I can focus my attention on Macbeth. Macbeth was a play of Shakespeare. For example, it is possible to focus our attention on imaginary creatures such as unicorns. Unicorns, the horse with a, it has a long kind of a horn at in front of its face, on its head. So that's a white horse with a long horn on its head. Or hobbits are small dwarf like imaginary creatures. Also non-current existing individuals such as Aristotle, Plato and Aristotle were Greek philosophers. We can think now about Aristotle, so but then the now is still the same. And I've taken philosophy classes, so he's saying that that's why he talks about philosophers so much. Okay, we can also consider possibilities for our future, different paths our lives could take. So we can also think about the future now. Eternalism and presentism are views about metaphysics, not psychology or practical reasoning. So that's why presentism and this eternalism are philosophical ideas, and they might not talk about psychology or practical reasoning, because they ask you to imagine of things that might not be there. According to this point, Fleetwood Mac again, a singer and musician, counted the flaming lips in the song "Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow." So again, he takes the example of music also a lot here, together with philosophy. And he says that Flaming Lips was saying all we have is now, whereas Fleetwood Mac, the musician, the group talks about that don't stop thinking about tomorrow. My point is not the mere fact of these possibility entails that we should fully and solely attend to any of them. So he's saying that it is not just my point, means my argument is not just that we should only attend to these points. Rather, it is that there is no necessity or inevitability to focus only on the present moment based on the fact that it's the only moment that is existing or is real. So he's saying that now is not just important because it is only real. Here is a way one might seek to defend the connection thesis building on presentism. On this view, the current moment is all we have because only the present exists or is real. So you're creating the connection here between the present and the real. Thus, our actions can only take place in the present. Recall that Toll has pointed out, and that nothing can either happen outside of the now, because now is the only time for action. So the happening can only happen now. Similarly, one can't act except in the now. Given that the present is all we have, now is where the action is. So this is however unconvincing to see why we should distinguish basic from non-basic actions. So now what are we talking about here? Roughly speaking, a basic action is an action one performs, but not by performing any other action. So here we are saying that the action that you are doing right now is the basic action, and other actions, since you are not doing, so the basic action is the only action you are doing. Something, the basic action is a mental thing, perhaps acts of will, choices, decisions. Others think of them as bodily movements. For example, pulling the trigger would do be a basic action, pulling the trigger of a pistol or a rifle. You might say that agents perform a basic action directly. Means you have asked somebody to pull the trigger, shoot. So that person is shooting. So he is just doing that basic action. In contrast, a non-basic action is performed by performing another action. For example, that you kill the mare by shooting her. So killing is non-basic. The basic action is pulling the trigger, but killing is the secondary action, which is also called as a non-basic action. So was killed by shooting. So shooting was the basic action, and killing was the secondary, meaning the non-basic action. And we can perform basic actions only in the present moments. Other times are not directly available. You pull the trigger now. It's important that the basic action can have consequences for other times. That in performing a basic action, we might be performing a non-basic one. For example, the killing the mare involved a basic action, and the secondary, the non-basic, was that he got killed. Okay. So in selecting my action now, I should at least consider the consequences, the results of the action for future times that don't exist yet, but they will be the future, they will be the results of my action. So if you are studying now, that is a basic action, it will give you good results. The result was the future consequences. And so now is only where the basic actions are. So this is what is the whole thing. So I hope you understand it. And I will attach the link of this for you also in the description so that you can read. So this was just how to give an insight, into reading, how you can read better. Huh? So I read the whole thing almost with you. Only two paragraphs are left. So I thought you're getting bored. You might be getting bored. So I'm leaving it here and you can finish it for yourself. All right. So we will keep doing this series of reading. And this is something that I hope it will help all the non-readers to get interested in reading. That is my purpose of giving my now to this, so that your now becomes better. So thank you very much. Do give me feedback, and I will talk more about it. I will be, in fact, recording more videos like this for you. I think at least 2-3 times I will be doing articles like this. All right. So ending now. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.